it's always important to give credit where it's due. And I think we all realize where the credit needs to be given as far as the success of this WNBA season. Caitlin Clark came in and made such an impact on how many people started to care about the WNBA. This was the highest viewed season in the history of the league.
The WNBA has long struggled to capture widespread attention, but this season has been different. The league has posted its highest average game viewership in over 2 decades, driven by the explosive rise of Caitlin Clark, a generational talent who has brought more eyes to the WNBA than ever before. However, with success comes scrutiny, and Clark has found herself at the center of a manufactured controversy. American-based author reveal amazing fact about Clark in his recent podcast. Let's see what Matt Walsh said.
The league just posted its highest average game viewership in 24 years. They're bringing in massive new sponsorships, at least by the league standard. They're selling out arenas, which used to be unheard of for the WNBA. And this should be a dream come true for everybody involved in the WNBA, from the executives to the players to the reporters who, for their sins in a past life, have been cursed with the job of covering a women's basketball league. Everyone should be overjoyed. But there's a big problem. All of this success, every bit of it, is due to the presence of one player in the league, and that is a generational talent named Caitlin Clark, who, of course, you've heard of.
The numbers tell the story. When Caitlin Clark plays, arenas are filled and TV ratings soar. She's single-handedly responsible for the WNBA's recent success, drawing in new sponsorships, selling out arenas, and breaking viewership records. But rather than celebrate this undeniable win for the league, some are turning their attention to everything but her talent, stirring up unnecessary drama that does nothing but distract from what's happening on the court. Let's see what Chad said.
The league is more than just one player. And that's true. I mean, I'm search some of the numbers, Chad. Game 2 of Las Vegas and Seattle had 985,000 viewers. There was another game that held around 830,000 viewers. But I believe Game 1 with Caitlin Clark and the Fever, they pulled in over 1.5 million. And now what happens to that viewership?
Roughly double what you're talking about.
Yeah. And I mean, that was the trend throughout the season, right? I mean, she comes in over the Indiana Fever, craziness, sellout crowds, 769 points, 2 triple doubles in the season. That's important because that had never happened, and she did it twice. Attendance is up.
For some, the problem isn't Caitlin's dominance or her ability to bring new fans to the game. Instead, the criticism revolves around her race. The league, which has traditionally been composed of predominantly black players, has seen a surge in viewership largely due to Clark, a young white player who has captivated audiences in a way few have before. This has stirred resentment not just among some players, but also within certain parts of the media.
Most people still don't care, but a lot more people care than did before. And everybody knows that, right? Therefore, everyone in the league, other than Caitlin Clark, is doing exactly what so many lottery winners do. They're allowing all of their worst personality traits to surface because they just can't help themselves.
It's a sad reality that instead of celebrating Clark's achievements, many have chosen to downplay her success or accuse her fans of racism. The accusations are vague, with no concrete evidence to support claims of racial slurs at games. It's convenient to claim that the new fans who have helped lift the WNBA out of obscurity, are suddenly racists. But where's the proof? In today's world of smartphones and social media, it's hard to believe that no incidents have been caught on camera or shared online, yet that's the claim being made. Look at players like Brittany Griner, who recently commented on the new influx of fans. Instead of gratitude for the people who are finally paying attention to women's basketball, Griner spoke out about supposed racial slurs directed at herself and her teammates. Let's see what Brittany Gear said.
How do you feel about what has happened over the past year with the W since you first came in to where it is now? And obviously the game has grown and there's new fans, but do you appreciate the new fans without all the noise that's coming with them?
I appreciate the new fans that sit there and yell racial slurs. Myself, my teammates, and the people that I play against, because yeah, those might be opponents, but those are friends too. Like, they don't deserve that. So I don't appreciate the new fans that think it's okay to do that. But I do appreciate the new fans that respect the game, that are here to grow our league. Bringing people that may have not ever watched the to a WNBA game, so we can grow more fans. I do appreciate them. I appreciate the players that came in.
Her remarks didn't come with any specific details, evidence, or even a balanced acknowledgement of the overwhelming support that these new fans are offering. It's disappointing, but not surprising, given the league's recent history of turning everything into a race issue.
Instead of some gratitude, some appreciation for the people who have saved the WNBA, who pay to come out to see bad players like Brittany Griner, instead of that, we get resentment. Instead, we're told by Brittany Griner that the fans are racist. They buy tickets just so that they can yell racist things.
Caitlin Clark has remained largely above the fray, choosing to let her game speak for itself. She's dealt with cheap shots on the court, some of which look more like criminal assaults than fouls, and endured endless criticism from media outlets that seem uncomfortable with her popularity.
Rest of the game, thanks.
Yeah, obviously got me pretty good in the eye. I don't think it affected me. Honestly, I felt like I got good shots. They just didn't go down.
Yet, through it all, she's shown the composure and professionalism that makes her a true leader. Clark hasn't let the noise get to her, instead focusing on what she does best, playing basketball at an elite level.
And the Big Ten all-time assist record is hers and hers alone. Caitlin Clark behind the back, on the spin, to the hole, and one. Right here, just staying on balance, taking the contact, getting the and one.
Let's check out what Clark said.
Yeah, it's definitely upsetting. I don't think nobody in our league should be facing any sort of racism, hurtful, disrespectful, hateful comments and threats. Those aren't fans, those are...
There's no denying that Caitlin Clark's rise has been a game changer for the WNBA. She's brought in fans of all races, genders, and ages. Her appeal crosses boundaries that most players in the league haven't been able to reach. And for that, she deserves praise, not backlash. It's rare to find a player who can draw in casual viewers while simultaneously impressing seasoned basketball fans, but that's exactly what Clark has done. Her performances this season were nothing short of phenomenal. From jaw-dropping three-pointers to game-winning plays, Clark has proven time and time again that she's not just average player, she's the real deal. Her leadership on the court has elevated her teammates, and her ability to handle pressure in clutch moments has solidified her status as a superstar. Yet despite all of this, she continues to face unfounded criticism from those who seem more concerned with identity politics than with celebrating her impact on the game. Let's see what Jason Whitelock said.
She was the biggest star in college sports. She took that mantle in March and April of 2023 with her first tournament run. In 23, it's like, holy cow, she's the biggest star in all of college sports. She's bigger than any college football player. She's certainly bigger than any college basketball player.
The irony of this situation is hard to ignore. For years, the WNBA has struggled to gain traction, desperately trying to grow its fan base and increase viewership. Now that it finally has a star capable of doing just that, some players and commentators seem intent on tearing her down. Caitlin Clark has brought the attention the league has longed for, and instead of embracing it, they're pushing her away. Let's not forget the facts. Without Caitlin Clark, the WNBA wouldn't be seeing this resurgence. The league's recent success can be directly attributed to her. Games featuring Clark have drawn millions more viewers than those without her. When she plays, arenas sell out, and the energy is palpable. She has redefined what it means to be a star in women's basketball, and she's done it with grace, skill, and determination. Some argue that Clark's success has created jealousy among other players, and perhaps that's true. But jealousy doesn't change the reality of what's happening on the court. Caitlin Clark is a once-in-a-generation talent, and the WNBA is lucky to have her. The league should be doing everything it can to celebrate her, not undermine her. Instead of turning this into a race issue, the focus should be on basketball, on the game, the skills, and the talent that Clark brought to the table. It's time for the WNBA to move beyond these petty distractions and start appreciating what Caitlin Clark did for the league. She's brought in fans who never would have watched women's basketball before, and she's done it by being an incredible athlete. Her race should be irrelevant. What matters is her ability to play the game at the highest level and her capacity to inspire both her teammates and fans. As the season winds down and the playoffs continue without Clark, it's clear that the WNBA has a lot to think about. How will the league sustain the momentum that Clark has created? How will it handle the inevitable challenges that come with being in the spotlight? One thing is certain, without Caitlin Clark, the WNBA would still be struggling for relevance. As the Indiana Fever's hopes of going ahead of round one have ended, the team is looking to rebuild, which might involve a certain Fever star to leave the team. Despite the chances of Kelsey Mitchell exiting the team, the Fever stars Caitlin Clark, Lexi Hull, Aaliyah Boston, and Erica Wheeler have showered their praises on the 28-year-old via Instagram on Monday. Mitchell had posted a series of photos from the Indianapolis-based franchise's season this year and had written a caption talking about her year that looked to be full of ebbs and flows for her. Taking note of the same, her teammates swiftly came to cheer her up as Clark commented, "Proud of ya." A similar emotion was displayed by Hull, who wrote, "Lots of love for you." Adding to the same sentiment, Boston enumerated, "Agent Zero, love, the best leader." Meanwhile, Wheeler expressed, "Thank you for allowing me in, dog. Shit deeper than this. You one hell of a human. One day you gotta share your story, gang. Shit will inspire folks. Pop's proud of you." The 28-year-old in the caption had written about the setback she faced this year. "I got low, shedded tears nobody saw, got my back dirty just to make it, threw all my cards on the table, trusted God to save myself, guaranteed my best, willing and able, forever dying on my own sword," Mitchell wrote. Notably, the Fever guard lost her father this year in March. Let's see what Kelsey Mitchell said.
Oh man, I was grateful. I didn't know how I was gonna get through this year. And so, I first thank God because...
To top that, the Indiana-based franchise couldn't advance ahead of the round one playoffs, which would have certainly impacted her. All this probably got her to drop hints of exiting the franchise after 6 years. Let's see what Clark said about Kelsey.
I felt like Kels probably should have got a little love. I honestly thought she probably should have been player of the month. Just what she was doing and at the clip she was doing it. I think she was like 50, 40, 90 this month, which is...
Let's see what Lexi Hull said.
I think she's just, I've said this before, but she's so mature for being 22 years old and having the attention that she has. It's pretty incredible. And
Mitchell was drafted by the Indiana Fever as the second overall pick in 2018. Since that time, the Fever has been in a rebuilding phase, but the Ohio-born's performance peaked this season as she presented probably the best backcourt in the W this year. However, when the Fever had to exit from the WNBA playoffs, reflecting on her season, Mitchell said,
It's definitely a lot of emotions and thoughts that flow through my mind. I think that everything for me is so fresh that I don't know what I need and what I'm going to do, but I know that.
Kelsey's honesty about her emotions shows her deep connection to the organization and her journey. I'm hopeful she finds the right opportunity to return to her Indiana home. She deserves it. Let's see how well these girls played.
But has picked up a triple-double here today and gets the end one.
Combined with the fact that Mitchell's contract will end this year and she will be in free agency from here on, field speculations of her exiting from the franchise are prominent. Labeling herself selfish, 2018's number 2 pick had opined,
"What I'm going to do, but I know that when the time comes and the opportunity is right for me to make those decisions, obviously I've always had a home in Indy, so it could potentially be a home for me."
Hopefully, she will be soon able to make a decision for her future. Meanwhile, if she exits, then it will mean a tough season for the Indiana fans. The Indiana Fever was having a tough season up until the Olympics break. But after a late resurgence from Clark and Mitchell, it was a thing of the past for the Fever. The Fever from there on changed their tally from 11 to 15 to 20 to 20. And a lot of credit goes to Mitchell for it. While Clark dominated with her assists and scoring, Mitchell assumed the role of an alpha in games where the Iowa alumna would play the second fiddle. Her 36-point performance against the Dallas Wings in September will always be remembered for saving the Fever timely during the game. Overall, she averaged 23.4 points per game after the Olympics break. Therefore, if Mitchell were to leave, then the Fever would once again find themselves in backcourt troubles. Considering that Clark would continue with the Fever, they will have to look for another guard in any of their new recruits. According to the ESPN Mock Draft 2025, the Fever can draft UCLA's Janiyah Barker. While Barker is known for her post display, she can be an able partner to Clark in terms of scoring and making way when Clark is guarded. But the Fever fans, as of now, will be hoping that Mitchell doesn't leave the Fever, as it was after 2016 that the team made it to the playoffs this season, hoping Clark too will come forward to share her perspective on the rumors.
Remember this.
If your only argument for Caitlin is that it would have been a great marketing opportunity and you don't have basketball experience or chemistry with the group listed in your reasoning, I don't want to hear it.
This is the most popular women's basketball player in the world.
It was a stupid decision because it compromises what your ultimate goal is, which is to elevate the WNBA brand.
Caitlin Clark is certain she will return even stronger next season after the Connecticut Sun beat the Indiana Fever 87-81 to end her hopes of finishing her rookie year with a WNBA championship title. On First Take, Molly, Chiny Ogwumike, and Stephen A. Smith reveal shocking fact about Caitlin Clark. But before that, let's see what Clark said.
She definitely came up with some big shots.
Got it off to a slow start, but Big Shot Bonner showed up when she needed to.
And later, with 1:05 left, Clark with the pass to Kelsey Mitchell. She misses, get the rebound.
Shoot the layup.
Not sure what happened there, but on the very next possession, Alyssa Thomas to Marina Mabry to seal the deal. Connecticut wins 87-81. They advance to their sixth straight.
She did her best. But let's see what Chiny said.
On the road, and this is late in the fourth, 4:06 left. Caitlin Clark comes up with a huge three. We've seen that left side three before.
Side step to the left. You know she loves to get into that three-pointer off the dribble, going to her left.
1:56 left. Alyssa Thomas with the pass to Dewana Bonner. She definitely came up with some big shots.
Got it off to a slow start, but Big Shot Bonner showed up when she needed to.
And later, with 1:05 left, Clark with the pass to Kelsey Mitchell. She misses, get the rebound.
Shoot the layup.
Not sure what happened there, but on the very next possession, Alyssa Thomas to Marina Mabry to seal the deal.
Caitlin Clark entered the WNBA as the most influential women's basketball player we've seen in a generation.
Yeah,
a year this far.
Yeah, Caitlin Clark came into the WNBA as the most impactful women's basketball player we've seen in a generation.
I couldn't agree more with Chiny. Caitlin Clark is such an impactful player and has brought a whole new level of excitement to the WNBA. Her talent and influence are truly unmatched. Even with her WNBA season over, Caitlin Clark continues to set records as her entrance into professional basketball has skyrocketed interest in the product to uncharted territory. The Fever exited the postseason on Wednesday night with a loss to the Connecticut Sun. Game 2 of their WNBA quarterfinal matchup was the most-watched game in league history on cable, averaging 2.5 million viewers. The Suns' win over the Fever peaked at 3.4 million viewers and helped the second half of their playoff doubleheader between the Mercury and Lynx average 1.2 million viewers. The same viewing slot for the WNBA raised viewership 507% from last year's figures. Clark played in the most viewed cable telecast of the day for everyone in males under the age of 50.
Connecticut looking to close things out tonight, and here we go.
They're hoping that can discourage Alyssa Thomas from making some of her great passes.
No one picks up Clark, who cans the three. Rebound flagged down by Clark.
The latter game of Phoenix, Minnesota was the third most watched WNBA playoff game ever on ESPN. The first round games overall have averaged 1.1 million viewers, the most watched postseason in WNBA history. In the season-ending loss to the Sun, Clark scored 25 points, adding 9 assists and 6 rebounds. She's the first rookie to have pulled off a 25-5-5 game in the postseason. The WNBA Rookie of the Year being at the forefront of the Fever's revival led her to achieving several more astonishing feats during the regular season as well. Let's see what Molly said before.
Some of us felt like maybe she hadn't proved it in the WNBA, but at this point, she certainly has. So she proved everybody wrong.
What about the guards? Let's talk about the guards that did make it.
That's rude, Molly. Let's see what Smith said to Molly.
The only other athletes that I can see recently, the past generation that have moved the needle like this, maybe Serena Williams, absolutely. Anytime she played, anytime she won titles, straight up viewership, box office, Simone Biles, we just came off of the Olympics. You look at that list. Now the difference is Caitlin has yet to win.
Yeah.
But the cool thing about women's basketball is people are following her story. They followed her story at Iowa, now to the pros, and now people are going to continue to follow her until she hopefully gets a championship.
First of all, let's put this in its proper perspective. When I think about Caitlin Clark, the operative word that comes to my mind is gratitude. There's an incredible level of gratitude that should be accorded to this young lady with what she did for the sport. That's not to take anything away from anybody else, but I often argue, when I've argued with folks about this, you think NBA players shouldn't be thankful to Magic Johnson?
It's frustrating to hear Molly downplay Caitlin Clark's Olympic team selection. Smith was right to call her out. Clark wasn't just chosen for her stats at the time, but for her incredible potential and overall impact on the game. Team USA picks players who bring more than just numbers, and Clark has proven she deserved that spot, no matter what anyone says. Molly asked to Smith,
That doesn't, when the audience was telling you, no, something else matters.
Let me just hold on. Let me say one thing, because I want to push this forward to Alyssa Thomas.
Sure.
Stephen A., what is the major point that you want to make here, your major thesis statement on this? Because every time Caitlin Clark comes up, I feel like...
Oh, Molly, seriously? Every time Caitlin Clark comes up, you just have to throw shade. It's pretty clear you can't handle how much attention she's getting. Maybe instead of taunting Smith, you should recognize that Clark's talent speaks for itself. Smith responds to Molly.
Of this narrative,
Well,
where
first-
you're frustrated.
Well, first of all, I'm not frustrated. Number two, I did get stuff off my chest on numerous occasions. I'm just reiterating my points because I think one of the things that needed to be mentioned was that even though Caitlin Clark is new to this, and even though she has proven to be a potentially sensational player, the resentment that some, not most, not all, but they say some, those who squeak get the loud, I forgot the phrase, but that stuff that was going on was real. And you see it with some of her fans. You see it with a lot of people who were looking at the WNBA and using that as a means to castigate them. People like myself, you and others certainly came to the WNBA's defense in terms of the credibility that the league has earned, that it richly deserves, the support that it has now received, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay. Smith is absolutely right. Caitlin Clark's talent is undeniable, and the resentment she faces is real. It's frustrating to see some people ignore the impact she's having, while the WNBA finally gets the recognition it deserves.
I feel like basketball has really consumed my life for a year, so I feel like it'll be good for me to kind of reflect back on everything that's happened. Like, I feel like I didn't even have time to really reflect on my college career because it ended so fast. And then I came here and was trying to give everything I could to this team. And it was special. There was a lot of things that this group accomplished that, a lot of people probably didn't think was possible.
All right, Caitlin finally getting a moment to breathe, right? As she just mentioned, didn't even get to reflect at all on her college career and just jumped right into things and had an epic season. How would you describe, Chanae, her historic career?
Yeah,
a year this far.
Yeah, Caitlin Clark came into the WNBA as the most impactful women's basketball player we've seen in a generation. And
I can totally understand where Caitlin is coming from. She's been nonstop, giving everything to her teams, and it's amazing to see how much she's accomplished. Taking time to reflect on her journey makes sense, especially after such a whirlwind year. She's done so much that people didn't expect, and fans can't wait to see what's next for her. Andrea Carter revealed how Connecticut's Sun won. She said,
But also when you think about this Connecticut team, they're balanced. Everybody scored that got in the game. They had 18 points off the bench. Veronica Burton and Olivia Nelson-Ododa were phenomenal. They played so well. Alyssa Thomas was doing her thing. Big Shot Bonner made shots. They were more experienced, but they also had more weapons. When you look at Indiana, they had 3 weapons offensively. It was Caitlin Clark, Kelsey Mitchell, and Aaliyah Boston. They couldn't compete.
I think the biggest thing was...
It's tough to see Indiana struggle, especially when they rely so heavily on Clark. Connecticut's depth and experience were just too much to handle. Even though Indiana couldn't compete this time, I know Caitlin gave it her all, and I can't wait to see her continue to grow and lead in the future.
A scoring record or the all-time scoring record in college. But now you see her in the WNBA and you can say the exact same thing. Most impactful that we've seen in women's basketball for those same two reasons. Arenas were upgraded, viewership through the roofs. But then when it comes to the basketball, what she was able to do was truly impressive. She averaged 19 and 8.
Fans agree with Chinese assessment, recognizing Caitlin Clark's continued impact in the WNBA, her record-breaking college career and ability to boost viewership and elevate the game in the league have impressed many, showing she's truly a standout player in women's basketball.
Basketball, what she was able to do was truly impressive. She averaged 19 and 8. For some context, I won Rookie of the Year. I think I averaged 12. It is a huge feat to get those types of numbers. After Olympic break, you mentioned it, Molly. It's like finally she can wait, waiting to exhale.
Totally.
23, 9, and 8 were her averages, bringing the Fever to the playoffs. I know that there was a big three with Aaliyah Boston and Kelsey Mitchell as well, but what she has been able to do has transcended not just women's basketball, but it's women's sports in this moment.
Fans amazed by Caitlin Clark. Averaging 19 points and 8 assists is huge, especially for a rookie. She's taking women's sports to new heights, and it's impressive.
Women's sports in this moment. The only other athletes that I can see recently, the past generation that have moved the needle like this, maybe Serena Williams, absolutely. Anytime she played, anytime she won titles, straight up viewership, box office, Simone Biles, we just came off of the Olympics. You look at that list. Now the difference is Caitlin has yet to win.
Caitlin Clark is on the same level as legends like Serena Williams and Simone Biles in terms of impact. She'll be unstoppable in next season.
And Angel Reese knows a ring is coming.
The rivalry between Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese is definitely one of the hottest topics in the WNBA right now. Both players had incredible games, but in a recent podcast, Dan Dockich revealed fascinating insights about their rivalry. He said,
"You know, it is amazing, and this is the stuff that we talked about basically all summer long. It is amazing the impact that Caitlin Clark has. I'm not throwing Angel Reese in there, but others do, and that's a good thing. But Caitlin Clark has literally carried the sport on her back all summer long. Caitlin Clark was the gift."
Many fans agree with Dan's words. Caitlin Clark had been amazing this summer and really had been the star of the sport. It's impressive to see how much she's contributed. The Indiana Fever rookies' arrival in the WNBA had signaled a new era for the league. Combined with the Angel Reese rivalry, not only did women's basketball change on a professional level, but also a college level. However, as recent numbers show, these former NCAA superstars have affected men's college basketball as well. Dan Dockich, in his latest Don't At Me episode, revisits a Fox News Digital article in conversation with two of the top men's recruits in college basketball this year. Let's see what Dan said.
No, Caitlin Clark's game resonated. Caitlin Clark's rivalry with Reese resonated. It resonated with me, which means it resonates with men.
Their competition inspires many and connects with a wide audience, including strong men. Let's see what Carrie Champion said about Clark and Reese rivalry.
The story of Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, the rivalry, which really isn't a bad rivalry or a true rivalry on the court, is a good thing.
The rivalry between Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese might not be super intense, but it's still a great storyline for the game. It adds excitement and keeps fans engaged. Dan said,
"I digress. It also resonated apparently with a couple of college basketball's #1 recruits, Dylan Harper and Ace Bradley, two of whom."
It's exciting to see that Caitlin Clark's story is resonating with top recruits like Dylan Harper and Ace Bradley. Their decision to head to Rutgers shows how impactful her game had been. It just goes to show how inspiring she is for the next generation of players. Harper, the #2 nationally ranked recruit in the class of 2024, told Fox how he thinks all players are at the end of the day the same, presumably because of their love for basketball. Fox writer Jackson Thompson also mentions how the NCAA women's final had 18.9 million viewers, while the men had 14.8 million. The younger son of former player Ron Harper, Dylan also revealed how he had always followed women's basketball to a degree because his mom coached teams. Meanwhile, Bailey, the #3 ranked recruit, told the news network that Reese and Clark were what made him follow women's basketball. But if he gets the chance to talk to either of them, who would he choose? I would probably talk to Angel Reese, her competitiveness for sure. What keeps her driving? Dan said.
FYI, the women's basketball tournament had 18.9 million viewers, while the men had 14.8 viewers. Ride or die with Caitlin Clark, baby.
While many believe, including Dan Dockich, that CC has carried women's basketball on her shoulders these last few years, her rivalry with Angel Reese is also what has made it more interesting. But the former basketball pro also believes that the WNBA was not ready for this boom. Well, let's see what Clark said about Reese.
I don't think I've ever been her teammate before with even a USA basketball or anything like that. So I know people are going to be really excited about it, but I hope it doesn't take away from everybody else. Like, this is a huge accomplishment for everybody on Team USA and everybody on Team WNBA. Like, they all deserve the same praise. Like, I don't want it to take away from any of that and just be the focal point of All-Star Weekend, because that's not fair to them. And, you know, obviously this is something that's really hard to accomplish. So the best we can celebrate all of them will be great. And just going to obviously soak in the experience, because you never know if you're ever going to be able to get back there. And it'll be fun for all of us.
She is amazing and respectful. How could we not support her? No matter what critics said, let's see Clark record breaking performance.
Corrals it, veers into space. Here's Clark. Clark looking to take it around Lloyd. Clark bodies in and finishes. Clark trying to shake Whitcomb. Step back is good. In the mid-range for Caitlin Clark. Missed there from Lloyd. Clark the fling ahead. Oh, what a dime! And Mitchell lays it in! And Caitlin Clark officially has the most assists ever.
Assist, another get ahead. Caitlin Clark, head up, right in stride for Kelby Mitchell. She did not have to alter her speed one bit.
Here's Katie Lou Samuelson. Can't hit the three in the corner. Boston the rebound. Clark a good look. She got it.
You had this tornado hit, and you weren't ready, says Dan Dockich on Caitlin Clark. Dan Dockich has long been a Caitlin Clark fan, and in the discourse surrounding her popularity in the league, he's usually been on the positive side of it. While some dislike a rookie getting this much attention, others want her to be in the spotlight even more. But Dockich believes that while she's changing the game, the WNBA is not dealing with it properly. Let's see what Dan said in response to her haters.
Only should you have known that Caitlin Clark was going to be a star, you should have prepared for it. You should have said, look, this is what is getting ready to happen. So let's do everything to enhance. Meaning, let's make sure she's on the Olympic team. Let's make sure that other NBA women are smart enough not to be morons to her. But that didn't happen. And they had to go through all of this garbage. I mean, all of this crap, and Kathy Engelbert didn't understand it.
Dan is right. Caitlin Clark's talent was obvious from the start, and it's frustrating that she wasn't fully supported. And it's disappointing to see her face negativity from others in the league. Caitlin Clark had the option of playing a fifth year for Iowa under the additional COVID-19 year, but she chose to graduate on time and enter the W. While many thought her college success wouldn't translate into success as a professional, the Fever rookie has clearly proven them wrong. So has Angel Reese. With CC leading the league in assists and the Sky player in rebounds at one point in time, their rookie year has sensationalized the sport, even influencing the men's side of it. And it's only the beginning.
Because the African-American lesbian players were going overboard in their racism and sexism on Caitlin Clark. Lynn and the WNBA had to send different videos et al. To the league to get this crap to stop, and the league has, for the most part, stopped.
This shocking admission reveals the internal struggles that Caitlin Clark has faced, not just from the fans, but even from within the WNBA itself. It's hard to believe, but the racism and sexism directed at her were so rampant that the league had to step in.
It seems on some social media channels to have taken a darker turn, a more menacing turn, where race has been introduced into the conversation, where sexuality is sometimes introduced into the conversation. How do you try and stay ahead of that, try and tamp it down, or act as a league when two of your most visible players are involved, not personally, it would seem, but their fan bases are involved in saying some very uncharitable things.
This was the turning point when the conversations around Caitlin Clark's performance started moving away from basketball and into darker territory. Race and sexuality became the focus of an escalating controversy.
One thing that's great about the league right now, we do sit at this intersection of culture and sport and fashion and music. Like the WNBA players are really looked at now as cultural icons.
True.
And when you have that, you have a lot of attention on you. There's no more apathy. Everybody cares. It is a little that Bird Magic moment, if you recall, from 1979 when those two rookies came in from a big college rivalry, one white, one black. And so we have that moment with these two. But
while Engelbert tries to frame this as a historic rivalry moment, it's far from that. The issues surrounding Clark and her competitors aren't just about sports. It's a reflection of the larger problems in the league.